Hi, everybody, and welcome to High Scores, High Stakes, the podcast that's about to enter survival horror. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Lova Lova, and with me is my co-host.
Evening, lover. It's me, Tomahawk. How are we doing?
Grand, mate, grand. And the avid viewers may notice this very handsome-looking stranger, and I'm going to pass over the mic to friend of the podcast now, special guest, our
Best friends. It's canon now. That's it.
Musical genius. It is Alpha Chrome Yayo.
What an introduction! Oh my god, I'm touched. Yeah, I'm Alpha Chrome Yayo or ACY or Peter or anything you want to call me within reason. I be sensible. I make vibey music for cool games and for hopefully the stereos of anybody tuning in. Yeah, that's what I do. Big music man, big horror fan, big game fan. Just love all the cool stuff. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't is right. And that is really, really useful because obviously our topic for tonight is going to be horror game music, specifically the good stuff. We don't want none of the bad stuff. None of the bad stuff here at all tonight. So we're going to be talking about horror game music. So we'll be picking horror games, talking about the soundtrack in general, maybe highlighting one or two individual tracks of each game. But before we get into that, this is episode 132. So if you've been listening for 132 episodes, skip forward 2 minutes because we're going to do the housekeeping. If this is your first time, you're not allowed to skip forward. You must persevere and listen to it. We are High Scores, High Stakes. What we do here is we are a competitive PlayStation podcast. In season, we play against one another in PlayStation gaming challenges. The winner of the challenge gets 3 points. Second place gets 2 points. Third place gets 1 point. Whoever is top of our PlayStation Challenge League at the end of 12 weeks wins the coveted, Tom probably has it, the High Scores, High Stakes Cup. There it is. I'm still not going to tell you who the champion is for season 5 because you're going to have to watch it. We're not in season at the minute, so that means we're doing our side quest where we talk everything PlayStation, everything gaming, and obviously the last Monday of every month is our Game of the Month episode. That is next week, by the way, Tomahawk, and it is, of course, Dead by Daylight.
Which has a cracking soundtrack, actually, as well.
It does. But before we get into the chat about music, soundtracks, and horror games, Tomahawk, Yayo, you know what's happening. It's time where you tell me, what are you playing?
Nothing of too much merit. I was out touching grass. My touching grass weeks are always just playing Balatro on the phone. So I tend not to bore everyone with, I played a roguelike deck building game for 4 hours straight.
Only 4 hours? Really?
4 hours.
I mean, you've been doing that for weeks with blueprints.
To be fair, when my eldest, she's very much like, Daddy, can I play the cards game? I'm like, yes, this is a very passing of the torch kind of moment here. And she's figured out the poker hands. Now she's figured that part out anyway, but she hasn't figured out how to make the magic combo numbers go up and up and up. But mainly it has been Balatro, which is just a fantastic game. I'm so scared, though, to put it on the PlayStation because I know I'll not play anything else. So it's confined to the handheld. I did pick up and start the Halloween event for Phasmophobia though this week as well because it looks gorgeous. That Blood Moon event, they knocked it out of the park again with the aesthetic in this one. I had a great first ghost, walked in, it evented straight away, snapped a picture of it. The ghost was not present in the photo.
Beautiful.
Phantom straight away. I was just like, this is exactly what I need. This is the confidence builder that I need. Go back into console gaming. Joyous.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's been pretty low key for me this week in the last for games played, at least anyway.
Lovely. It's a game I'm terrified of playing. Not Phasmo. I love Phasmo. Balatro.
It's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
So dangerous. It's a slipper slip. This a friend of mine who's got 400 odd plus hours on it. He's got the PlayStation Portal, so he it's like his comfort game, or it's like his wind down game. I'm like, how can you wind down to that game? It's not possible.
No, I'm terrified of it. I know if I pick it up, I'll never put it down, and I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. I really don't. Alpha, what about you, mate? What are you playing?
Well, I'm trying to play Silent Hill F at the minute. We talked briefly about this before we started recording, that I paid the extra tenner to get it early and everything. I was all in. But the problem is that I'm kind of too busy to play it during the day, and I'm too scared to play it at night. Like most of my gaming is on the Steam Deck, lying in bed, and I don't want to like shout and wake my kid up and stuff. So like I've had it for whatever it's been, like 2 weeks now, and I've played maybe 8-9 hours total, which is nearly the first playthrough, and I'm loving it. But I'm trying to play that, but what I'm mostly playing is I kind of pretty much always have, for my chill down game, like a weeby visual novel on the go, which I can just lie in bed and click through. So I'm doing one called Robotics Notes, which is by the same people who did Steins Gate and Chaos Head and Chaos Child and stuff. It's very cool. I'm enjoying that so far, like just big mech fun. It's sort of slice of lifey, but then I think it's going to, I get the impression it's going to spiral into kind of a science-themed mystery, as these games tend to do. I just finished Chaos Head and Chaos Child. I loved them very much. They were that nice mix of kind of comforting and wholesome, but also genuinely fairly horrible and nasty at the same time, which is a combo I am all about.
Yes. I love this like game and dad ethos that we've seen to have like projected onto other people in the podcast as well. It's like we have all these lovely games, but we only have this like finite time to play them, and they're always loud, scary games that then cause a ruckus in the household, and we're like, oh, we can't play that though. But we
couldn't possibly play it. No. Yeah, more Balatro. That's
it. I've been playing a handful of games. Silent Hill 2, still persevering my way through. I was playing that at the weekend, and I put little Lover to bed. Of course, 10 minutes later,
after making him play,
10 minutes later, I'm in the living room having a wee bit of Silent Hill 2 time. And he comes in and he's like, oh, what are you playing there, Daddy? And I was like, Silent Hill 2. What's Silent Hill 2? It's a scary game. What's it about? And I was like, I don't know how to I don't know how to explain this to you, son. It's a scary game with monsters. And he's like, okay, can I watch? And I was like, yeah. He lasted about 2 minutes. He was like, I'm going to bed.
You should have just hit him with the like emotional trauma monster and then be like, what do you want to share? And Pyramid Head will come, and then that's one way to get him out of the room. Like, you know,
the noise from the controller was enough to send him running. Like, so that's not so bad.
It would do it for me, man. I would have been out the door. I would have been straight in bed.
I'm surprised I still have a DualSense, to be quite honest, on the back of Silent Hill 2. It's just like, no.
Your streaming of it was incredible last year. It was just like even not being present in the room, just having to like listen to it through headphones or just out loud on the computer. I'm like, that game's frightening. Absolutely frightening.
I think
as a passive watcher as well. I'm going like, I'm too busy watching your reactions. The actual like the music, like this is gonna be the main theme today as well, but like the music is just so good, and the fact that it transcends from like active player to passive watcher, did something right.
Yeah, agreed. It's oppressive. That's the best word I can describe Silent Hill 2. Oppressive. The soundtrack is oppressive. I've also been playing Quantum Break, which I pumped a load of screenshots online because it looks incredible. I'm playing it on Steam Deck and it looks incredible. Ultra settings with some of the dials just turned down to medium, and it looks unbelievable. And I also we knew you were chatting about this, Promise Mascot Agency. I've been playing that. I thought, this is going to be a nice wee chill game. It's going to be nice. It's going to be warm. It's going to be cuddly. And then within the first 15 minutes, I'm going to a brothel. I've found out I'm a Yakuza janitor, and I cut my own finger off, and that's the first 15 minutes. And it's incredible.
It's the game of the year, and everyone should play it.
Everyone should play it. Everyone should play it.
I promise I won't keep doing that.
That sounds like a plug if I ever heard one.
That's an honest plug. At least, you know, that's a bare-faced plug. I didn't try and slip it in.
Organic.
An organic plug.
I just love the like buy it, but genuinely buy it. I elapsed the 2-hour trial, and then was like, oh, I need to see where this game goes, because the story is just crazy. The writing is fantastic, and of course, could we go any further without saying the music?
Oh,
is incredible. It's incredible.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
The theme song for it is brilliant. But yeah, my sales pitch for it is, if you like No More Heroes, you're going to like this, because it's very, very similar.
Very accurate.
So it is, but it's fantastic. What a game. But yes, that brings us then to the topic of the week, which is, of course, horror video game music. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get there now. Okay, gentlemen, let's get down to the meat of the podcast episode then, which is great horror video game music. I'm going to pass the mic to whichever one of you two wants to go first. I am opening the microphone to either of you.
After
What's your
you.
Let
first?
our esteemed guest go first
Oh,
because
you're too
we're
kind.
good
Beautiful.
guys. We're good guys at high scores, high stakes.
The best dudes. All right. Well, do you want to hear some faves of mine? Do you want to hear one for now? We can take some
Yes.
turns. Well, you know what? Let's just get stuck right into the tasty meat, as you say. Silent Hill F. I've already mentioned it. One of the main reasons that I did pay the extra tenner to have it early is that I wanted that soundtrack in my ears immediately because I knew it was going to rip. It's got Akira Yamaoka? Akira
Yamaoka,
Yamaoka. From previous Silent Hill fame, obviously, who is a genius. But also, as well as that, I was super psyched to see that there are a few other composers on there, including Dai, who is a little less well known, but equally another one of my favorites. He previously worked on Higurashi When They Cry, which is a visual novel series by Ryukishi 07, who wrote the story for Silent Hill F, and I love his music too. In fact, I'm going to talk about that in a bit, but that's one of the reasons why I bought Silent Hill F early. I knew I was going to like the music. The selling was already, everything I love, sort of Showa era Japan, small town strangeness. I was so hooked on everything I was hearing about it. I'd heard like a tiny snippet of the soundtrack just in like a trailer. I deliberately turned it off because I wanted to hear it fresh in game. And my God, I just love it to bits. So you've got Akira Yamaoka doing some similar stuff to what he's done in previous Silent Hill games. And indeed, if you listen super carefully, you'll hear, motifs and the overture and stuff bubbling away underneath. I was trying to get my hand so you'd see bubbling. It's on this side. It's my bubbling hand. There's some familiar territory there, but at the same time, there are, big key differences. It's set in a small town in Gifu Prefecture in the 60s. So you've got these sort of Showa era influences, lots of unique Japanese instruments, stuff that I love and use myself quite a lot. You've got some shakuhachi, some shamisen, lots of kodo and taishogodo in there. Instruments that I love, sounds I love from a period that I love by a composer that I love. So obviously I adore
Match
it.
made in heaven, yeah.
It's just awesome. And I'm not going to get particularly nerdy about it, but a lot of the previous Silent Hill games have made extensive use, and I mean this as a compliment, of a notorious, that sounds bad, there's a notorious sample pack from the 90s called Distorted Reality by Spectrasonics, and it is once again out in force in certain bits of it. I think some of the choir sounds and stuff are from it. I'm sure some of them are a live choir as well, but it's nice for an audio nerd to be able to spot little kind of musical trinkets, little treasures in there, which is a delight. In fact, actually, talking of musical treasures, I noticed that in the there's a middle school level in the game, which has been my favorite bit so far. And there is, if you look closely on the blackboard, there is sheet music pinned to it, which I am 99% sure is from the overture from Silent Hill 1, which is a very nice touch. I even looked up the Japanese translation on it, and it's listed as the school song for Silent Hill F, which is a nice little Easter egg for those willing to dig. And boy, do I dig it. There's a nice segue. yeah. Shut up, Poindexter.
Nerd. Go hug your recorder.
Oh, I've got one right here. I've got my big green flute handy just in case.
Oh, it's incredible.
It sounds like a bad euphemism. It is not. It is for all your listeners. It is a massive
That's my good green flute.
This descended
my bad green flute.
far quicker than I had anticipated.
Hey, we lasted all of 15 minutes before it descended into trouser territory.
To absolute madness. But here we are. Welcome to the Halloween episode. Am I right?
The spookiest flutes ever.
So the soundtrack for Silent Hill F, is it as good as previous Silent Hill soundtracks?
I think so. Now, I'm coming from a biased point of view that I like this. The setting and the instruments used, I was always going to love it. I think that objectively, I can't really say it's objectively as good because that doesn't make sense. But, I think that a lot of people would agree that it's very, very good. Subjectively, I would maybe even go so far as to say as that I prefer it as a whole. I think the big tracks from Silent Hill 1 and 2, they're just monsters. They're huge tracks. No pun intended. This has a couple of big tracks like that, but it's more about the kind of the sort of the mise en scène type stuff. Kind of the vibe tracks rather than the bangers. But yeah, I love it. I think it stands up against the rest easily in terms of sound and in terms of some other stuff too. There are areas where I think the game falls down. A lot of people talked about the clunky combat.
Yeah.
But I don't mind a bit of jank. I'm pro jank, so
we're very much embrace the jank on this podcast.
I'm glad to embrace the jank. I'm glad to be in the jank cuddle, the jank scrum. Yeah, so it's great. I just love it. I'm looking forward to playing more, and hopefully I can get over my fear of it to do that. I mean, I was playing it on a train. I was going to like a games industry conference down in Dublin last week before. I was sitting on the train with it in my headphones. I thought, finally, some time to really play it. And I got jump scared and did a squeal. Scared a lovely old lady beside me. So that was the end of that.
But it's good for like Silent Hill F. The franchise has took this bit of a different direction. It's took a different time set, and it's took it away from like Midwestern America, we'll call it. And it's allowed them to kind of make these changes and push boundaries with a soundtrack and a different kind of score, and allow them to kind of experiment a little bit on it. And from what I've gathered from reviews and watching a bit of gameplay, it's paid off hugely. I think combat aside, I think they've captured the Silent Hill vibe in the music. If they put the overture kind of like buried in within the sort of subtext of the main score as well. So I'm dying to get a hold of it, to be honest.
Man, me too. I see a lot online of it. It's not a real Silent Hill game because it doesn't take place in Silent Hill. Neither did Silent Hill 3 for the majority of the game.
Exactly.
And Silent Hill 4 is also not in Silent Hill. So there's more games in the series that aren't in Silent Hill than there are in it. So I'm all for it. And if the soundtrack's good, because Silent Hill, as you'll get to hear, is the soundtracks of those games are all bangers. But that's enough spoilers. Tomahawk, what's your first pick, mate?
Left 4 Dead 2. And I'm specifically thinking Left 4 Dead 2. And I was thinking about this like at the start of the week, and I was going through some of the older games that I like to play, because I could harp on about like talking about Phasmophobia, Alien Isolation, or like a lack thereof their soundtracks and stuff in this instance. And I thought, what's the one game that I put a lot of hours into? Left 4 Dead 2 back in the 360. And I just remember, and I watched the launch trailer for it, that very bluesy riff. Yep. That kind of is them going through, and the public service announcement is playing over the top of it, and then they're like, nah, we're just going to do our own thing, and then it kind of kicked straight into the gameplay. But that bluesy riff is in throughout the entire game, and there's always just different variations of it, and it never really, at the time, I suppose, doesn't really resonate with me, or doesn't really stick. But as soon as I heard that, I'm like, yeah, I just remember Swamps Bayou. It's very southern vibe. And then, of course, you've got all of like your Special Infected all have their own
themes.
Themes. Then I remembered. Then I was stumbling through YouTube and listening to like all the little sound bits and bites of them. The Witches theme, man.
I'm glad you said it, because I was like, the Witches theme.
Please say it. Like that nearly ethereal singing.
Yeah, it's like it's the best way to describe it. It's like mermaid, like siren calls.
Exactly. Yeah. Man,
creepy,
just like, but it was so.
Which again is a huge compliment for me. I'm a massive Enya fan. That's a big compliment.
But as like a shooter goes, you kind of expect it to be like a bit more pianos and violins and that kind of stuff. I'm quite heavy on the typical horror stuff. That is very much like bluegrass the entire way through the game. It's just like, no, you're in the swamp, kid. We're going to play swamp music for you.
Yeah. Was it Left 4 Dead 2 that had the mission on the farm, and it ended on like a big heavy metal stage where you had to hold off the horde?
I think you're thinking of Alan
that
Wake.
Played when you had to kick. No, you had to. There was one, right? Wasn't there? You went into a stadium. At the bottom of the stadium was a stage, and you had to use the stage to call the helicopter. And then
the
concert
it was like the end game kind of mission where you have to you have to trigger the horde as well. Yeah.
That song was awesome. Although Alan Wake's also the farm with the stage was incredible. I forgot Left 4 Dead. You know, Left 4
It
Dead.
was
I played
just one of
many
those
hours.
like I don't think it ever because it doesn't take itself seriously. You're just four guys kind of lumped together and have to figure it out. So rather than them double down on let's make it a scary atmosphere, let's put like scary atmosphere in the environmental music, but your overall soundtrack is going to be it's quite light and bluesy to be honest.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
thought that the way that stands out, it clicked at me at like the 11th hour when I was researching for this, and I was like, man, that soundtrack was incredible. Really, really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah,
That's a
even
great shout. Yeah.
yeah, it's a banger shout. Even the sounds in Left 4 Dead 2, the witch crying, and you hear that, and it's like so good. You hear it in the sewers and stuff, and it reverberates around, and it just sounds amazing. So it does. What a game! I forgot all about Left 4 Dead.
Because I was going to say Left 4 Dead 1, and then I thought, no, Left 4 Dead 2 has that more of an iconic setting and an iconic sound to it. I think when they kind of found their feet and knew what they were doing, they could just go, well, let's just play into that kind of Zombieland vibe, really, and just have some fun with it. And they absolutely did. And yeah, they all have their own. I think whenever you trigger a horde, it has that kind of it's that kind of like choir or chamber choir kind of singing that they do in Trigger. Ah, great. Just loads of little moments where it's like it will set off a jump scare or it'll do something like that, and that those additional sound bites are just class.
Yeah,
I was trying to remember what the soundtrack. Like, I'm sort of playing the soundtrack in my head. It's been a long time since I played it. Weirdly, the thing that I think it sounds most like is I was going to say the intro music. I think the only music in American Truck Simulator, which could only be improved with a Left 4 Dead zombie mod.
Class.
Weirdly makes me want to play American Truck Simulator.
Oh man, it's great. One of the scariest moments I had. It's not a horror game, but I played it. I was working late one night, and I haven't played in VR in ages. But I had like a wheel set up and the Oculus Rift on, and it was about 2 a.m. I popped it on, and I fell asleep at the wheel in the American Truck Simulator, and I woke up like 4 a.m. and just thought I was behind the wheel somewhere in Arizona. I was horribly confused. So that was terrifying. So yeah, maybe it is a horror game after all.
Every game's a horror game when you play VR.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible.
Yeah. If you're enough of a dickhead, every game's a horror game.
It's words that live life. Right. My first shout then is going to be Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation is, in my opinion, one of the best horror games ever made. I have said it loads of times on here, and I said it loads of times on stream. Alien Isolation is one of the very few games that playing it has made my back hurt because you're so tense the whole time. I remember streaming it way back in Twitch days and being stuck on the mission where they introduces the alien in the med bay for about 6 hours because I was in a cupboard terrified. But the music in Alien Isolation is this incredible sort of mix between like the cinematic and like the Silent Hill sort of industrialized music. I think the composer's Christian Henson, but every song apart from one is credited to him and a band called The Flight, and it goes from like a weird mix. So the theme for Alien Isolation takes the original like 1979 movie theme and sort of slows it down and gives it like a grander build because it's a 4 or 5 minute song, and then it sort of keeps that motif throughout the entire soundtrack. But there's a couple of tracks in this game. I think one of them is called Welcome to Sevastopol, and it is brilliant. It starts off as this orchestral song and then sort of builds it down into like the industrial music, and then the following song on the soundtrack is all, I think it was me and you were talking about this before record, Yayo, was it was like 9 Inch Nails almost. It was like this grungy crunchy guitar riff, and then it sort of breaks down very 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 gradually and just turns into banging of pipes and computer beeps, and you hear like snarls of something, and it just does just takes you from the safety of the movie and plants you firmly into the land of the game. Where me and you were also talking about this beforehand. Watching a horror movie, I'll watch anything. Put me in a game, and I'm going to struggle my way through it. So I will struggle my way through it. But no, the Alien Isolation soundtrack is so good. It does this great job of, like the game does itself, of taking a cinematic universe and turning it into this incredible gaming world seamlessly. And it's just an incredible soundtrack from start to finish.
It's funny because, like, I distinctly remember it more for, like, you know, the sound design, like the story or the horror as such is told in the lack of music. It's always about your environmentals and stuff like that. So, like, the soundtrack itself, I'm completely, like, at a loss for, because all I remember is just, like, clattering of pipes, steam, and then the alien in the vents. And music as such doesn't really, maybe when, like, the androids grab you, or when you've got just that moment before you meet your inevitable demise several hundred times, there's always, like, a wee pinch of music. But no, like, it's a funny one that I never really put a soundtrack to this one. It's always the lack of soundtrack. I think that drives it for me.
Treat yourself. It's on Spotify, mate.
It's a banger. I mean, you mentioned The Flight, and I should give them a shout out because I was going to say they're friends of mine. They're internet friends of mine, and that, you know, that's real friends in 2025.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not sure. I don't know off the top of my head which tracks they did, but I know they do amazing work in general. They've done some of the Assassin's Creed type stuff, and we share a love of bizarre Japanese synthesizers. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were at least in part responsible for some of the sonorous clangs rattling your ear holes.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it does. I think there's parts of the soundtrack that is like so Silent Hill esque. It's crazy. So it's like, this could be in a Silent Hill game if it wasn't for the random computer beeps. But it's so good. A couple of songs that are just like that one. I can't remember what it's called, and I'll put it in the show notes at the end. The one that sounds like a Nine Inch Nails song is barely a song. There is a melody in there, but it gets lost very quickly on purpose. But it just sounds incredible, and it's all designed to put you on the edge of your seat and just to keep you from being ever comfortable. Just a great. It's a tour de force in music and horror games, in my opinion. And it is one of the most important aspects of games, but a lot of developers spend way more time on graphics than they do on the sound design.
Shameful behavior altogether.
Let's name them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you should say. I can't really talk about too much about what I'm working on now, but I'm doing a game that skews horror, and a lot of that is focusing on exactly what you said, that kind of stuff. Where it kind of melds in a little bit. And it's just all about those little tweaks and nods, just to rattle your droiders a bit.
Yeah, problem going, oh, this is a nice game. No, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
Here's some symbols. So just to recap that, Silent Hill F, Left 4 Dead 2, Tom?
Yeah.
And Alien Isolation. So we'll go into the next round then. So 1, 2, 3. Round 2 then. And we'll go in the same order. So
all right, let's do it.
Yeah, yo.
I mean, I've got a few to choose from, but this was a last minute addition because, again, we briefly talked about this before we started we hit the magic record button. I want to talk about Deadly Premonition, which isn't really a horror game, but it is scary, and not just because of the junk. You know, it's deeply unsettling. Not least of all because the I'm not going to reveal the spoiler, but the baddie looks very like my next door neighbor, which is deeply unsettling. So it's great, and again, a large part of that is down to the soundtrack stuff, and some of it's very silly. You've got that whistling theme that will live in your brain for the rest of your days. It kind of verges on Kill Bill territory, but it's a lot more goofy. But it's part and parcel of the game. I mean, a lot of the time when you think of the game, that will pop into your brain straight away. But there are other incredible songs on it, and they're really strange. Obviously the game draws a lot from Twin Peaks, and there's elements of that. You have that kind of Americana stuff running through it, but at the same time, some of it's just plain weird. They're really bizarre time signatures, which I'm all too aware of because I have a creepy story about the Deadly Premonition soundtrack that I walked into my bedroom one day and it was uncharacteristically tidy, but the only thing sitting on the bed was a printout of sheet music for Deadly Premonition. I have no idea where it came from. It wasn't there in the morning. There is no way that my wife she probably hasn't even heard of Deadly Premonition. I don't know. So I've no idea where it came from. But it's a banger. So I lifted it up and recorded a little cover of one of the tracks from it. Which is on my YouTube if anyone wants to look at it. So just a nice spooky thing, which actually I am a big fan of the director Swery, and I sent him a message telling him about that, and he kindly agreed that it was a particularly Deadly Premonition-ish story. So yeah, a game that I adore, not even in spite of the jank, partly because of the jank. You know, it's a strange experience, and the fact that you can't always really control it right, and you have to be careful where you save, or it might break your game. Stuff like that. Like that's part of the weirdness of it, and the weirdness is part of the scariness, the effectiveness of it. You have like these kind of weird, goofy moments. You have these cute moments, and then you have just moments of kind of pretty serious terror going on, and it's all underpinned by this incredibly unique score, which is by a trio of composers who I'm not actually very familiar with, but I think after this I should do my homework and listen to more of their work, because it is Silent Hill effing brilliant.
What a game. I remember the whistling theme, because everyone who's ever played Deadly Premonition remembers the whistling theme. It is the whistling theme, for all of its silliness and the fact that it plays in some really random moments where there's like a heartfelt thing going on the screen, and it's like it's just incredible. But I do remember there's like chase sequences in that game. The music for the chase sequences is incredible.
It's unreal, man. Yep.
And the final boss theme as well, if I remember correctly, is an absolute banger. The boss
it's hefty.
is weird.
It's very hefty. The boss is wonderful. A strong case for genuinely one of my favorite bosses, not in terms of gameplay, but at least in terms of design and sheer unexpectedness. It's a real mind
would definitely
twister.
Be a word for it.
It's such a good game. Underrated gem.
It's an underrated gem. You've got stuff like, again, it wears its influences on its sleeve, and again, that's no bad thing. I sure do, and all the people I like wear their influence in their sleeves. It's nice to talk about the stuff you like and celebrate it. So you've got that kind of barroom scene with the kind of smoky Julie Cruz style singer and stuff. It's just so cool, so strange. It makes me feel a vast array of emotions, it runs the full gamut of emotions, all at once, an emotional overload. It's great. I just love it to bits. You could argue whether it's a horror game or not, but I don't even think discussing that is the point of the game. It's Deadly Premonition, and again, while it wears its influences on its sleeves, there is nothing else quite like it. Even Deadly Premonition 2 is not really like it, and is arguably not very good, but I might revisit that one. I maybe didn't give it a fair crack of the whip. But Deadly Premonition 1, a banger.
Yeah, agreed. I would classify it as a horror.
Oh, definitely.
The whole theme of it is horror. It's you're a FBI agent. Is it Francis York? Is that his name?
Francis York, yeah.
Yeah,
of course it's horror. York. In my whole time talking about this, I've kind of forgotten about all the combat, because I think I've kind of repressed it because it was that jank.
Combat is awful.
It's terrible, and I'm so pretty sure that maybe it's an urban legend, but I think Swery had designed the game without combat, but the powers that be had said, no, don't be stupid, you need combat.
You need to have combat,
So it was shoehorned in at the last minute, kind of willfully awful combat.
It was very much a plant your feet and shoot kind of combat, wasn't it?
It was clunky. You had to plant your feet, withdraw your piece. Your gun, that is, not your big green foot.
You could do that. You're going to prison.
Yeah, York will have you slammed up before you know
it. Deadly Premonition, banger. Tomahawk.
I'm going to go with, if we're going to go with protagonists who like to outer monologue and talk about Americana and, perpetually love to talk about the references that they have within the works. I'm going to go with Alan Wake. I'm going to go specifically with Alan Wake 2.
Okay.
I think Alan Wake 2's soundtrack. Now, I just while we were chatting about this, Petri Alanko, incredible. Like his musicality in that, in what I have played in Alan Wake 2 is phenomenal. And, you know, even Alan Wake 1 is a great piece of music throughout as well. What Alan Wake 2 does really, really brilliantly is because they play it like it's episodes in a series, even in part one, they had individual like end credit songs that had this incredible, you didn't have to skip them. You could have just like sat back and chilled, and you had this like wave, this like visual wave wash over you of like, you know, what's happened in the episode, and then this like color palette just kind of like cleanses your load screen effectively. Sam Lake is a wizard. Like there's nothing that he doesn't put a hand to in any of those games, at least anyway. And I think a big shout out has to be said to like the fact that they made a fictional band and created a full-blown album from that fictional band, and it shows throughout, like, you know, Control, Alan Wake 1, Alan Wake 2, that Old Gods of Asgard are just amazing. I think even the fact that they did their reveal trailer for Alan Wake 2 was he's on the fake talk show with Sam Lake as like the main guest, and then they do the big song and dance musical number. Just meta, and it's so well accompanied, and I think they love their media to accompany the gameplay like that. Like just brilliant.
I love whoever their marketing director is incredible. I just love all the way Sam Lake incorporates like multimedia into all the games. So that like every game from Remedy has a serialized television show. Is it Lost Falls? Is that what it's called in Alan Wake?
Lost Fall. I think so.
It's like a Twilight Zone thing, and the episodes, if you sit and watch them, are weird but brilliant. And there's also, he plays I think it's the same FBI agent as he plays in Alan Wake 2 in Quantum Break.
Alex Casey.
It's so good. It's so good, man. There's in the first half an hour of Quantum Break, there is, or there might be, spoilers, an Alan Wake cameo. Just a slight tangent on that. So the Sam Lake's character in Alan Wake 2 is Sam Casey, and they constantly talk about, oh, you're named after the Alan Wake character. He's like, no, he's named after me. God damn it. I never asked to be named after a character. And even then, I'm like, you're talking about Max Payne as well. Like that's just. I remember seeing the reveal trailer for that and going, here, Max Payne's in it. Yeah, remember? I think I said it in a podcast episode. It is enshrined for the ages, my stupidity. But Alan Wake's soundtrack's really good. I played the remastered not that long ago, and there is some parts of that game where the soundtrack is absolutely top tier. There's the part of the game where you're in the old person's home where you meet the two Viking guys, the old gods of Asgard. The music that plays out in the end of that, where you're fighting your way back out, brilliant. It's just Remedy.
I'm waiting for Remedy and Sam Lake to come out with like a Old Gods of Asgard spin-off, but it's a rhythm game. I'm just waiting for that to be announced, because it wouldn't surprise me, because they talk about like the musicality and they talk about the Old Gods of Asgard quite a lot in all of the games, Control is included, and they talk about how they were afflicted by the dark presence, and then that's why they are kind of like their side effect is why they have like early onset dementia, and because they made a deal with it, and that's they combated it some way somehow. I just love to see them to go, Joe, what we want to do, let's do a full Old Gods of Asgard Guitar Hero style game, but in the Remedy verse.
Yeah. Intellectually distinct yet similar. I'd buy it. I would buy it.
Yeah, like their sound, like the sound design as well, even in Alan Wake 1, where it's the shining the torch, that musical, like that focus in as well, it's so good. They know how to ramp up the small details like that. And then obviously when you've got the previously on Alan Wake between chapters in 1 and 2 as well. They kind of have like its signature TV show sound
like
as well.
the TV show sort of like jingle thing. If I remember correctly as well, the end of Alan Wake 1, where the revelations are made in the room, there's like this really somber, like haunting tune that plays the whole way through it, and it's just when they do their music in those games, because there's not much music in Remedy games.
No,
It's all much more sort of the environmental sounds that sort of drive forward. You might have cues every now and again, but when they do music, the music is usually
it's
top
big set
tier.
pieces. Yeah.
The maze level and control. Not a horror game, but unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I would have argued like Alan Wake maybe not so much a horror game, more an action adventure game, but I think there's big heavy horror notes
exactly.
in it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Alan Wake, much like Deadly Premonition, probably, I think it definitely started life as a survival horror game, but the powers to be when like this genre is not popular anymore. We can't have a straight horror game, put action in it. And I think that's what happened.
I think
to
Alan Wake 2 definitely has like veered away from that, because it's we know it's a dual narrative kind of game, and the bits where you're playing as Alan Wake is very horror.
So like Resident Evil Revelation style thing.
Yeah,
Here's
so
your horror
when
section.
When you
here's
play
your action
Saga,
section.
you do a bit of detective work, you do like a little puzzle, and you kind of loop around. You're very proficient with your weapons and you shoot, whereas Alan Wake has his flashlight or his clicker, and he can affect the environments that way. So it's a little bit different in how the combat was done in part 1. He's very much reserved to, I'm a writer.
That's quite cool though. The clicker is a great story beat in the original one.
Yeah.
So it is the magic light switch.
But
Exactly.
there'll be like soundscapes where you're going through the forest and you get like the first manuscript page you find in part 2, and they're like, this is for us, and it has that super ominous music over the top of it, and next thing you know, you're met with like, you kind of navigate through the forest, and there's this moment where you're like between the two realms, between there and the dark place, and there's just this moment where they jump scare you with like a real life image of the actor of Alan Wake blended in super well with and just all the audio cues that come with it. Like it just is, it's different when you put like an Unreal 5 like picture in that. You've used a real human being.
a human face. I love that. What could be scarier than a human's face?
An actual human in my video games. How dare you?
It's just hits differently. Like, and then obviously when you do like the Night Springs spin-off levels, it's so like cheesy and camp, and you're just doing your own thing, but it still has this like odd sense that it's not, your reality is completely warped. So yeah, man, Alan Wake. I'm going to say Alan Wake 2 specifically. Alan Wake as a franchise, then.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. My next pick is going to be Silent Hill. Another Yamaoka absolute banger from start to finish. I've highlighted 2 songs in this one. First one, obviously, is the main theme, is just called Silent Hill. I love that song. That song is really, really, really simple, but there's so much like layers to it, and it, even from the very, very, very beginning, because if memory serves me right, I was listening to it about an hour ago, but if memory serves me right, it starts with like the crackle of like a gramophone or like a record player, and then goes into like the really off tune guitar that sort of builds and builds and builds into really nothing, because the song doesn't really go anywhere, but it has all these like out of tune guitars. It's really fast, but because they're out of tune ever so slightly, you're enjoying the music, because the music itself is lovely, but because it's off tune, you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't know if I like this. And then it just goes on, and they sort of introduce other instruments, but again, all the other instruments that they add in just get stacked on top of one another. There's one part near the end where there's like a violin, and the violin it's making noise.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it's a melody.
yeah, exactly. It's doing a violin sound.
Yeah, it almost sounds like they're just hitting a violin almost, and then there's moments of it where you can hear you can hear the song, but then it goes as soon as it comes, and as soon as you start focusing on it, the music's gone, and it's just like this really like it encapsulates Silent Hill's themes and what it wants to elicit in the listener from the get-go. You know, it's unsettling, it's weird, it's kind of off, but you can't really put your finger on why it's off, yet there's a beauty in it. I just love that one. It's one of those songs, I mean, as I said, I was listening to it earlier on today. The more I listened to it, the more I was like, is there human voices in that song? I think there might be, but again, they're just off, and I'm like, is that a human voice or is that an instrument? I don't know.
It's doing something good then if it's making you question your sanity on that. Then
yeah, it's an absolute banger of a song. So it is. It's just really good. It's a rock ballad in a horror game that is. It doesn't drive you, the listener, anywhere other than that's really weird. And, you know, if you put it into the context of the game as well, it's basically because they didn't have enough time to do a full motion video for the intro, they just took snippets of the other full motion videos and put them together, but purposefully jumbled them all up. So you're listening to a song that sounds out of sync with itself. All the instruments are doing their own different things. And then you're having all these images that your first playthrough, you don't realize they're out of sync. So it looks like it makes no sense whatsoever. And it's just genius. It's just genius. I'm not a music snob at all, but it's genius. And if I can take that meaning from that song, it must be a bloody good song. And it's really purposeful. It's really, really, really good. And it's so good. It's been in every Silent Hill game in one form or another. In Silent Hill 2, I think they put it into, I think it's called Laura's Song, where it's just in the background for a very short period of time, but it's there, just a and you're like, oh, hello. And it's in all of them, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. The other song I want to pick up on Silent Hill 1 is it's called Not Tomorrow. People will know this as the Lisa Garland song during her, spoiler alert for a game that's 26 years old, when Lisa dies. But again, it's just like this. It kind of drops all the industry sounds of the rest of the soundtrack, and it is just like this beautiful, beautiful medley. If you've never played Silent Hill, listen to that song completely out of context, and it will make you feel the way the game in context wants you to feel. It's somber, it's slow, it's a beautiful piece of music. It's tragic, it's hopeless, and there's like a sense of inevitability about it, because it does this really simple thing. The start of the song, the end of the song, first 20 seconds, it's exactly the same, and it creates like this cyclical sort of thing. And if you're into your Silent Hill lore, then you'll be well aware of the James Sunderland has been in Silent Hill for 20 odd years. He's just cycling through, you know, it's just great. It's just great. And then there's like one part of it where there's like it changes ever so slightly for about 30 seconds and then goes back into the melody it's been playing, and it's just like it sounds weird. I'm probably putting too much context on it, but it sounds like a piece of realization where the music goes up a pitch, and it's like this realization of something. You don't know what it is out of context. In the context of the game, it is like they realize the truth. They have this sudden realization of what's been going on, and what's been going on has been staring them in the face the whole time. They just haven't seen it, and it's all about just perception. It's just, you know, the whole soundtrack's brilliant. The whole soundtrack's brilliant, even when it just descends into the industrial banging of pipes and the hissing and all this here business. It's just an incredible piece of music. It's just, even Silent Hill, 1999. When I hear that opening guitar from the main theme, the hairs on my neck just go stand up instantly.
It lives rent free in my head as well, because when you were streaming it, it was always my the audio, like the audio on Instagram would just be Laura's theme or whatever it would be, and then that is just always there, that wee guitar-y, like a little bluesy riff, but then it would have in my rest of streams I see that town, and I'm like, that just incites bad things happening, like,
Yeah.
and like the music sounds super chill, but you're like, there has an off kilter feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's so sonically and compositionally rich, and you're 100% right that some elements feel so simple, but it's kind of deceptively not.
Yeah.
Things get bent and twisted into kind of what starts as something as it might be a simple motif gets twisted into something kind of not unrecognizable, but certainly very different and very strange. And it's a masterpiece. It's just
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah.
And a lot of those clangs and weird sounds. I think some of the kind of the pseudo vocal type stuff is from that 90s sample pack as well, Distorted Reality, which is, it appears in lots of games, but nobody has ever used it quite like that. I mean, I've used it. I try to use it like that, but few can wield those clangs with such deft precision. It's
Force
wonderful.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
force is
forces
right.
you.
Yeah,
It's
hefty.
just bang. It's just
Yep.
there. Like the thing that always sticks out in my head is in Silent Hill 1, when you enter Silent Hill and you walk down the sort of alley, and it changes from the normal world into the Silent Hill world, and the music is just like bam, 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 and it's just like I remember playing that game as a way younger man, going, "Oh my days, this is way scarier than Resident Evil ever was."
Yeah.
This is better. But yeah, no, Silent Hill 1 soundtrack. I think we could extend that to Silent Hill as a franchise.
yeah.
100%.
Yamoga is just,
There's not a bad beat amongst it,
No.
Every note is a winner. Every space between every note is a winner. It's perfect.
Yeah, the theme for Silent Hill 2. Wow, just wow,
Unreal.
just wow. But yeah, that is our round 2. So it was Deadly. What was your one?
Deadly
Yayo?
Premonition,
It was
yeah.
Deadly
It was
Premonition.
DP, yeah. So to
Alan
speak.
Wake as a franchise and Silent Hill as a franchise, which means we've only got one more round to go, gentlemen. One more pick. So
What
if
do I
you
go
haven't got
for?
one,
I've got
you've
a
got
few. I've got a few, but I'm wondering what to do. Let's go with Higurashi When They Cry, which is one that I mentioned very briefly earlier, and it's thematically appropriate because this is a visual novel by Ryukishi07, who wrote the story for Silent Hill F. He previously, most if not all of his games, probably all of them, were and hopefully in the future still will be some more visual novels. If you're not familiar with visual novels, they can take various forms. Some of them are kind of very hands-on, see you solving puzzles and stuff. Ryukishi 07's visual novels, Umineko and Higurashi are the main big ones. These are really just books that you read. If you're playing it, you're clicking through. The game comes from the fact that the first half of the chapters will usually be what he calls question arcs, where it sets out a mystery, and then the latter half will be answer arcs, where the mystery hopefully unfolds. And something I like is that each of these kind of arcs are while the only gameplay is clicking a button and reading words and listening to music, each chapter is rated a difficulty, and the difficulty comes from what the fuck you will understand, because it might not be very much, at least at the start of it. So you're really just alone with words, fairly simple, some might say crude images, and this music, and the music is incredible. So obviously it is a huge part of the experience. The story itself is for Higurashi is kind of starts off sort of slice of life, kind of a cute story in a town very similar to the one Silent Hill F, a slightly ramshackle town in rural Japan with a weird cursed history kind of thing going on, and you're playing with you're a little guy in a middle school, and you've got your group of friends. Things get pretty horrible and messed up pretty quickly. So you've got a wonderful mixture of just very lovely family friendly life going on, and just abject nastiness, and the soundtrack obviously reflects that. And it's a weird mix, because I think some of the soundtrack was originally kind of library music, which was probably used for a bunch of projects, but the main composer on it is a composer called Dai, who I'm delighted to see also, I think I mentioned earlier, is on Silent Hill F. Hopefully Ryukishi said, bring my boy in, and I'm glad they did, because he's awesome. He's really good. There's one particular track on it which isn't a scary track. It's called Spinning Seesaw, And I mean, I buy a lot of soundtracks on. I'm big on physical media. I like having the CDs in the car. I like having records, to listen to at night. It's I haven't found, I haven't got. Maybe there is a physical release of the soundtrack. I haven't got it, but I think even if there is, the track that I like the best doesn't seem to be available. But it is on YouTube. Someone's ripped it. It's called Spinning Seesaw, and it rolls so much. It's not in any way, shape, or form a scary or horror related piece of music, but it accompanies some of the scenes in the game where you are getting pumped up the most, and it really it amps me up. It makes me feel like I could punch a hole in the sky. I could rip it, tear a hole in the fabric of time and space listening to this track, which is good because the game is very unsettling at a lot of points. Will make you question your sanity, but it's one of those things where it's ultimately about the power of friendship, and I'm a sucker for that in games. It's in Promise Mascot Agency, which I worked on. Go and buy it. It's in like the Yakuza games, which are my favorite games that ever made. That kind of sort of power of friendship and family, be it real family or found family. That's stuff that really fires me up, and I love that, especially in a horror context. I think it just there's something about the kind of overcoming otherworldly odds with your best pals, and just being alone with these words, some images, and this kick-ass soundtrack. And it's one that never gets really talked about in terms of banger soundtracks. Even with Ryukishi's own work, his follow-up Umineko gets most of the soundtrack glory, and it rules. But I like Higurashi a bit more, and it's scarier. And it's cooler. Yeah. So Higurashi, When They Cry, I recommend it.
Interesting. Visual novels isn't. I think they really. I don't even know if they count as visual novels. Ace Attorney series.
Oh, I would say if you think it might count as a visual novel, you could absolutely count it. I'm sure you'll get your kind of your I was going to say snobs, maybe pernickety people is a bit nicer way to put it. You'll have your gatekeepers saying, no, that's not a visual novel. It's only a visual novel if you could only read words. But no, I would absolutely count Ace Attorney as a visual novel. And also, my God, what a soundtrack. Sugimori is the dude behind it. Who also did Murder by Numbers, the kind of puzzle-based Ace Attorney. I wouldn't call it a clone, but it certainly wears its influences on its sleeves. He did the soundtrack for that too, and it rips. Ace Attorney, 100% a visual novel. A good gateway visual novel as well, I think. If you're novel curious, if you're viz curious, then
I think it's the only visual novel I've ever really gotten into is the Ace Attorney series. They're so funny. They're brilliant. And the music's banging.
The music's unreal. And I always love when a game has a Columbo-alike character, like Ace Attorney does. It counts for a lot for me when there's a gruff dude in a trench coat. I don't know if you see, I've got a Columbo on the wall behind me there. I think you can maybe just about see his cigar. That's definitely a cigar.
Quality.
Higurashi, When They Cry, a lesser known game. Some might argue it's not even really a game because you're just reading stuff, but it's great. It's a game to me, and it's a great one to me. And the soundtrack rips.
That's the main thing. Tomahawk.
What's your last one, mate? My last one, I had to figure out to go big or go home on this one. I say go big. It's a game we've discussed. We discussed it in the 2024 Game of the Month catalog. It is a game that has a banging soundtrack. It's more of a licensed music soundtrack, and it also has a unlicensed streamer friendly mode soundtrack. It is, of course, Supermassive Games' The Quarry.
Okay, yeah.
I just think that one, rather than have this like big beefy orchestral score and scary music and loads of iconic like sound bites and stuff like that, they've gone and lent into the teen slasher horror. Let's get a load of like big name bands, the big name artists, and compile what feels like a super jazzy, super chill soundtrack.
Yeah,
like that Ariana Grande song that just kicks off the entire thing. It's just like completely juxtaposed to the carnage that happens in that first sort of 30 minutes of that game. And then you're met with this lovely piece of music and you're like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then you immediately run over Silas the Wolf Boy.
Like in the first 2 minutes, it's just, I'll go down to this basement as well.
But like even throughout, where it's rather than just to, the foreboding music whenever you meet the family for the first time, they have like this punk rock kind of guitar riff as like they put the hunting season signs in throughout the forest, and then as you go further on, like every chapter has its own like song ending that chapter. Like it's just something a little bit different as opposed to a full scary orchestral backing. I think it took me off guard slightly when I first played it, because that's just because I haven't played Until Dawn, which is very orchestra heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have this one be like, we are fully being a teen horror drama here, so buckle in for teen angst music.
Start to finish angst. Can I extend this to the Dark Pictures anthology as a whole? Because is it the curator? Is that what you call him?
The curator, yeah.
His theme music and the theme music at the start of every single game.
Oh, that Oh Death. Yeah, it like
bangs.
Because they had it set up in Until Dawn, if I remember correctly. Then they reworked it slightly for the Dark Pictures, and that became then the curator's theme.
Yep.
And then they reworked it again for Until Dawn, the remake.
Okay, yep.
And then they changed it for Until Dawn, the movie, to a song called Come Out of the Shadows. And I think if you took that song and put it into the games, that would be just as hard hitting as Oh Death. And that's my bold claim on that one there. I can't remember who sings it, but Come Out of the Shadows was a great song. And I remember going to see the Until Dawn movie and thinking, I'm kind of glad they didn't. They took the name and twisted a load of stuff to it and kept the original game at its core, but then built on it.
I like the concept of the movie. Like Happy Death Day, but different horror genres.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Quarry predominantly, but I'll allow this to be extended to the Dark Pictures because the music just slaps. And it's so different across all of the different, because they're all different genres of horror, essentially.
Genres, yeah.
So the music is so widespread and so wide varied throughout. But the Quarry just stuck out more because it wasn't like heavily relied on an orchestra or any kind of like ethereal singing or jazzy instruments from Japan I've never heard of. This was like, let's do a load of songs, and sell it that way. And then obviously they have the unlicensed versions, equivalents to those songs for the friendly streamer.
Love it. I love what a game does. Yeah, I love
but they're
like
they're very nondescript. They're very kind of they have a chorus, a verse, a bridge, a chorus, a verse, and it's just kind of like it. But it fits the same vibe. They've curated it
definition of a song.
Exactly. They have curated the vibe really well, considering that they're not using bigger licensed names. Yeah.
No, it beats what some games do, because I think it was at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 streamer mode was
play it in silence.
You don't play it in silence. You don't like it. You want to stream it, do you?
Nothing says punk rock like just nothing. Stony silence, the creak of a lonesome chair as you pop a sad ollie.
Just me playing it online, Superman over and over again.
Yeah.
Just singing to yourself.
What a soundtrack, by the way. We should have done one.
Unreal.
We'll get you back to that episode. Yeah.
But yeah, very short and sweet on that one. I think the Quarry just was a proper standout one. But as Dark Pictures, Supermassive Games as a whole, their soundtracks just they don't miss.
Yeah,
they're curated really, really well. I'm
going to do similar, and I'm going to pick a full franchise. Specifically, the first 3 games in the franchise: Resident Evil 1, 2, and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I don't know who composed it, because there's like 4 or 5 different names, because they had like a different composer every single time. So there's Makoto Tomozawa, Kyoichi Hiroki, Masama Ueda. That one sounds, I think Ueda did the first one, but not the Dual Shock edition, which was, of course, the famously deaf composer who later turned out wasn't deaf, and it was his assistant that was doing all the music. He is the one who was responsible for the Kitchen Basement theme song, which our editor will put in right about here. It's that one. Which has its place in history. I think it's an absolutely incredible composition. No, Resident Evil as a whole the theme, the music throughout it is great, and it does this wonderful thing of it sort of drops in like real music every now and again. So Resident Evil 1 had a Midnight Sonata by Beethoven, which was just an incredible place to do it. And then you have Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is the one that sticks out in my head for great, great, great music. The Nemesis theme is just incredible. I know not many people like it. I think it's an incredible piece of music. It fits the vibe. It is very hard. It is very loud. It is very fast, and it is just the Nemesis in musical form. And then you have there's like little songs here, there, and everywhere. The Labs theme from Resident Evil 1, brilliant. I mean, brilliant. It takes the main mansion hall theme and puts technical sounds on top of it, like computer beeps, and you have like the whole thing. Every song in the game meets the vibe, except for the Kitchen Basement in the DualShock edition. But it's just a great song. The boss themes are all brilliant. The yawn fight in the attic that you don't have to beat him, brilliant. The music's brilliant. It's just, I think Resident Evil is just really effective horror, especially for its time. Like Resident Evil 1 in 96 was super effective. I remember being terrified of that game, and the music played a massive part of it. There is some cheese sprinkled in there as well, which sort of lightens the mood. I think the plant whose number escapes me, his theme song is really weird, but I suppose it meets the tone of it.
Yeah, sure.
And then you have the Neptune sort of reveal in the circular room where it emulates Jaws. That just for a split second you get the dun, 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 and then it changes into its own wee thing. I just think the music in Resident Evil is just fantastic, and I will be shouted at by the internet if I don't mention the closing theme of Resident Evil 2, which is absolutely banging. It's a banging song, completely out of place. It's just like, now we must take that umbrella. Brown, 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 brown.
It's very 90s, isn't it? Like,
so good. It's so good.
Like even the save room, the fact that like the save room is such an iconic piece of music, and that's gone from like every rendition. That's like RE1 right through to, I imagine we'll probably hear it in RE9 as well.
Yeah, so every game has a different save room theme. So the Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3, they all have different, so it's all the same motif, which is the quiet, slow,
the calm and
safe,
like safe
sounding music, but they're all different songs. I don't think, does Resident Evil 4 even have? I know when you walk past a typewriter in Resident Evil 4, it plays like a little
motif.
Yeah. And then Resident Evil 7 brought it back with force, because the save theme for Resident Evil 7 is brilliant. But yeah, the save rooms are just incredible.
It's such a massive concept, you know, that it was a pioneering concept. I mean, it's a pioneering game soundtrack in many ways, but that particular thing, the save room, it lives on so much. I mean, the number of times I get asked, you know, if I'm working on a project, there's a thing like, oh no, we need the quiet bit. That's, you know, like the safe room kind of music. You know, it's a quick sort of shorthand. Even that's how influential it was. You know, and still is. You know, that is the shorthand for that kind of a thing.
Yeah,
you know, it's the name for it. You know?
I would just love to hear that sales pitch. Be like, well, I'm gonna do this piece of music for this one specific room.
Yeah, and it's going to be nice.
They're like, what?
This room's a nice one.
But it's just, it's just a great concept for just music to sort of force the player into feeling a certain way. You know, you have another really good example of them doing that in the original game is the cutscene for the Hunters, where it's first person, you see it coming through, and then it bursts into the door that you know you're on the other side of. Just great pieces of mood setting and just sort of scene setting and environment. It's just brilliant. The sound, I think Resident Evil has a really, really, really underrated soundtrack. Specifically, the first three games. The first three game soundtracks are so good, and no one ever talks about them, and it makes me sad.
I want to give an honorable mention to like to Dino Crisis. Then, if we're going to talk Capcom, we'll do that. I think genuinely, I think I just remember this with like all the Velociraptor music. Whenever like they go from idle to sentry mode. That just triggers like PTSD in me.
Yeah, yeah.
For all the right reasons though as well. That music shift is so good. Like
Yeah.
just that's all I wanted to say. And
No,
I think it
if
it
people thought they were
shows
getting
obviously
away.
throughout like Resident Evil, and it bleeds into Dino Crisis, and then their kind of stuff bleeds back into Resi as well
Yeah.
at later dates as well. But yeah,
People thought they were getting away from a Halloween episode with no mention of Dino Crisis. Since you've brought it up,
That would be a true crisis. Not to
since
mention
you've
it.
since you've brought it up, there is a theme in Dino Crisis when you're getting like exposition. Whenever the story progresses, there's that weird sort of theme it plays, and it's like beeps and like
Oh, yeah,
electrical sounds that play,
I
and it's
kinda
like
remember
really
it, yeah.
melodic, and it's genius. It's genius. You know when that music starts, this is important, and it pulls your attention to the game. You cannot miss it, and it's very gentle. It's not even like a big forceful thing. It's just like do 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 do, and it's like, okay, this is important. I must watch this, and it happens every single time. There's a progression of the story, of the plot. Dino Crisis is underrated. Underrated is all heck, and we are at what 9,900
nearing
days
10,000
of
days. Yeah.
of no.
I mean, we don't keep an active ticker on any of our socials, like, but sure.
Bring it back, Capcom. Come on. I will
Yeah,
shill
you cowards.
the life out of that game if you bring it back. I'll do it for free. I don't care. Just bring it back. Make it happen. But yeah. So that brings us to the end. So what were the 3 games? Because I've kind of lost track there.
I had Higurashi When They Cry.
I had The Quarry, and then the extension, The Dark Pictures,
Dark
and Supermassive Games.
And then Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on the PlayStation 1. That brings us to the end of this musical odyssey. So it does. So let's get to the wrap-up section. 1, 2, 3. And that is it, gentlemen. Another episode all wrapped up. You know what this week is? It's Halloween week, which means it's also Game of the Month week. I said at the start, Tom, Dead by Daylight.
Yes.
So multiplayer horror extravaganza with a really good soundtrack. I think you said at the start.
I did.
It has a really good soundtrack. And some of the character packs that aren't complete and utter ripoffs, the actual sort of content packs where you get the character,
and a chapter or something like
a new
that.
character,
Yeah.
a new survivor, a new villain, and a new level. Some of them are brilliant. There is the Freddy Krueger one, which takes the original Nightmare on Elm Street theme, turns it into something completely different, and it sounds great. And there was the Ash from the Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Great packs. But yeah, that's what Game of the Month is next week. Before we shut this down, does anyone want to shout out any horrible horror game music? I just got thinking there of the basement kitchen, and I was like, surely there's other examples of horrible. I have one.
I can't
It's
think of
not
anything off the
horrible
top of my
because
head,
of
to be honest.
it's not horrible because of the artistry of it. It is horrible because of what it means in the game. So it's a game called White Knight, a labyrinth called School.
Right?
Right? It's a Korean PlayStation 2 horror game, but the whole premise of it is you break into school because you've forgotten your homework, and the girl you like needs your homework in order to copy it. So you break into the school, and it's being watched over by the night janitor, but also demons. But the night janitor is terrifying. If he sees you, he will chase you and beat you with his broom. But when he comes around the corner and spots you, it's like picture almost Metal Gear Solid, but extend it into a song. It's terrifying.
Oh, okay.
That sounds right up my alley.
It's
that
really
that would have
good.
been my good list. Yeah.
It's really good. The game got remastered for PlayStation 4. White Knight, a labyrinth called School. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant game.
I think my only sort of horrible one that lives in my brain is what some might argue is the first survival horror game. I know many would disagree, but some, myself, would say Ant Attack on the Spectrum, or probably on the Commodore 64 as well.
Yes.
Where you are a dude, I think maybe a couple actually of people. I think maybe you play like a boyfriend girlfriend type setup, and you're running away from massive ants. But, you know, it was one of my very first, if not maybe my very first gaming experience, because I was very tiny playing it. and it makes just the most crushingly horrible sound when you get bitten by an ant. You get sort of this kind of crunching type of sound. That was on the Spectrum. Maybe it was nicer of the SID chip in the Commodore 64. I don't know. Maybe it was more soothing.
I doubt it.
But that paired with the words "you've been paralyzed by an ant," that's kind of uniquely horrifying in a way that maybe hasn't been repeated. If Dino Crisis is coming back, maybe there should be an Ant Crisis 2.
Ant Attack 2.
Ant Attack 2. Finally, I'll score it. I'll do it. I'll make horrible noises.
If we're going back that far in time, there was a game on the Amstrad called Oh Mummy. And
was it made in Belfast?
Right.
Oh, mama.
It was basically you have to run around the level and cover it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So you had to run around, but it was set in ancient Egypt. And of course, there was a mummy or more than one mummy in every level, and you had to run around these squares. So every level had like 9 squares. You had to run around them and uncover the treasure or the mummy, and they would come out and chase you. But when the mummy came out, it was like, really stereotypical like Egyptian music, like just over and over and over again. But the longer, more mummies there were, they got faster and faster it got until it was just noise. Because
that sounds feverish in probably a good fun way.
Yeah. horrendous, but that's horrible. Horror game music for you folks. Which means it's the end of the episode. So this is usually where I tell everyone where to go to find us. Give us a rating on Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the wee bell button so you never miss an episode. If you're listening on Spotify, 1 star to 5, whatever you think it worth, that's what we get. If you want to leave a written review, that's even better. And the best way of supporting us is by sharing this episode with your friends or family members who you think you might like it. And I'm going to pass the microphone over to Yayo to plug everything he does everywhere he does it.
Oh, thanks so much. I mean, we mentioned a couple of times Promise Mascot Agency, which is a project I worked on very recently. If you haven't heard of it, it is a game set in kind of small town Japan, in a town stuck in the Showa era, which is riddled with curses. You play as a exiled Yakuza janitor working in a repurposed love hotel with a bunch of sentient mascots. And if it sounds strange to you, that's because it really, really is. But it's got a heart of gold. It's got thrills, spills, and if I may toot my own flute, my own shakuhachi, it's got a banging soundtrack. I was lead composer on it. Also, there is the amazing Ryo Koike on it, and one of my favorite singers, Nas. And we serve up a whole load of Showa flavored jazz fusion. There's city pop. There's a good whack of horror in there too, which you'll get to as well. It'll warm your heart and tickle your eardrums and make you feel feelings that you never knew you could feel. It's a banger. And if you want to check out my music in general, I've got a whole heap of stuff on Bandcamp. And if you want to keep an eye on anything I've got coming out soon, I mean, I'm working on a bunch of cool stuff, but I'm not really allowed to talk about it yet. Some of it skews cute, some of it skews horror. It all rips. I don't just mean the music, I mean the games themselves. I'm very lucky to be working on cool stuff with and for cool people, to be played by cool people. It is my favorite thing in the world to do. So yeah, cheers. And thanks so much to the pair of you for having me on here with you. It's been a delight. I love to talk about music and games, and I just love talking about the stuff that I love with cool people.
All the boxes then, haven't
ticking all my boxes. I've been ticked into oblivion. Ticked senseless.
Tick attack.
Got so many ticks, you got to get me to a vet.
No, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've actually had a blast tonight. So I have, after a particularly rough day today, not gonna lie, it's been an absolute blast. And yeah, it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant having you on, and just really interesting to hear someone who knows something about music and help us out an awful lot, because this would have been a very short episode with
exactly. Like,
I like this game.
Okay. Moving on.
What other music do you like? I also like that.
That's it. When the guests come on and start giving the big I am about their field of proficiency, then I feel like we have to then blag our way into. Oh yeah,
Oh,
I mean, like they juxtaposition. And
there was no blaggery. There were keen insights, and I've come away with a bunch of stuff that I really need to check out as well.
There was the
great.
other with Cardinal Smith not being here today. He was like, I don't really know very many horror. He's not the horror game aficionado of the podcast, at least anyway. So I'll give him a little bit of insider advice, and he was like, I know The Last of Us, you can play a guitar, and it's just like, yes, and there's a whole scene where you can play Take On Me, which takes away from the whole like seriousness of the situation that is unfolding. And give him the big like media studies A levels there, and he was like,
nice.
Can I use that word for word?
Word for word. Yes.
Amazing.
But yes, that means we're at the end of another episode. I've said it a couple of times this episode. Next week's Game of the Month, Dead by Daylight. So make sure you catch that one as well. And that means, with all that being said, I've got nothing left to say except I'll be Mr. Love Lover. This has been High Scores, High Stakes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Monday. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.